All right, well, howdy, folks, and welcome to a very special episode. I am in Denver, Colorado, sitting in a brand new Land Cruiser. It's going to be a fun experience. Stick around. Welcome to the Lifestyle Overland channel, where we share family off-road adventures, camping product reviews, and overland build videos. But today, we're sharing something a bit different. For over 10 years now, our family has been pursuing the path less traveled, and Silver, our 2014 Toyota 4Runner, Aspen, a 2016 Lexus GX460, the Beast, a classic 1980 Land Cruiser HJ45 Troopy, and our most recent build, a supercharged 2021 Toyota Tundra named the Grizz. After over 300,000 combined miles across these platforms under mostly severe use conditions, we're no strangers to the Toyota brand and its legendary reliability. And so earlier this year, we were invited by Toyota USA to test the new Lexus GX550 and provide feedback on how the new platform compared to our GX460. After an awesome test drive where they actually let us tow our Expedition Voyager trailer with that brand new Lexus in an off-road situation, Toyota again invited us to come test the new Land Cruiser and Tacoma platforms. With a toddler and new puppy keeping my wife Sarah busy at home, bringing the whole family was kinda out of the question for this trip. So, I hopped on a flight out of Salt Lake after the mandatory airport cardio program down to the infamous B gates. Nothing like a hike to start the day out right, I suppose. After a quick flight over the Rockies, I arrived in Denver, where I quickly felt like a VIP with a fancy sign for Toyota directing me to a private SUV for the ride to Toyota's offices in Denver. After a 30-minute ride and interesting discussion with the driver about Morocco, his country of origin and an overlanding destination that's been on our bucket list, we were greeted by a collection of new Toyotas before getting down to business inside. After introduction by a couple of familiar faces, including Kurt Williams and Jackson Philby of OLT 4x4, who, by the way, did a fantastic job organizing the previous Lexus event, along with Christine Henley of Toyota USA, who, come to find out, was actually a fan of the channel. As we went around the room and introduced all the other attendees, I felt very special indeed to be part of this event with this collection of legends from the automotive world. With our courtesy Toyota swag bags in hand, it was time to meet the models. For this event, we'll be riding around in 3 Tacomas in the TRD Off-Road, TRD Pro, and much anticipated Trail Hunter trim, along with 3 Land Cruisers in the 1958 and First Edition trims. Now, while we honestly lean more towards the tested and proven previous generations for our remote travels for the obvious reasons, we're also extremely curious about the new breed of Toyota models for overland travel, and so we leapt at the chance to hop behind the wheel to see what the future holds. Now, unless you've been living under a rock recently, then you know that these redesigned platforms with their fresh tech and drivetrain configurations have had their fair share of issues, as is common with big changes from any manufacturer. But when you look at the actual numbers, it's up for debate whether or not these problems being highlighted on social media are blown out of proportion. No pun intended. Either way, history tells us that if anyone can work through the solutions and come out on the other side with production improvements and design enhancements to overcome these issues and continue their legacy, it's Toyota. But more on these thoughts later. All right, so we're probably about 20-30 miles outside of Denver, driving through these mountain roads, and this thing has been spectacular. The torque off the line has really surprised me. I probably thrown my passenger's neck out a couple of times, but first impressions, pretty doggone excited. With Denver traffic behind us, we headed into the mountains in search of some unique yet familiar lodgings for the night, while getting acquainted with a heritage blue Land Cruiser I'd staked claim on for the first drive. Being a fan of the old reliable Toyota drivetrains, I've honestly been a skeptic about the new, smaller displacement engines using turbos and hybrid systems to increase power. I guess it has to be pointed out, though, that all this change is driven by the ever-increasing emission regulations and fuel efficiency requirements, so I get it. They have to innovate. But after driving this little 4-cylinder up winding roads, I have to admit, I was very surprised at how peppy it was compared to our 4Runner. So apparently that 17% increase in horsepower and 40% increase in torque over the old 4.0 felt legit. Now I could see where its 6,000 pound tow rating over the 4Runner's 4,700 was coming from. As to reliability, well, only time and real world testing will tell. About halfway to our destination, we performed a quick round of musical chairs to mix up the driving experience, since we had 6 different configurations to test over the next couple of days. I found myself in the TRD Pro version of the Tacoma for the final leg of the day, and again, my first impressions were far more positive than I expected. Finally, we left the paved roads behind and got a little taste of the trail as we wound our way further up the mountain, and even at full tire pressure, the ride wasn't too shabby. I've always found previous Tacomas to be uncomfortable with my long legs and 6'3" frame, but something about the driver geometry has changed, and I actually like the new seating position.
How was the day?
This was a good day.
Right
yeah.
on. Right on.
Yeah.
Welcome to camp.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice spot.
This is my kind of camping. After a bit of trail time, we arrived at our billion-star accommodations. Yep, we'll be tent camping to really embrace the whole outdoor experience. Personally, I feel more at home in a tent than a hotel. But talking to the auto journalists from Motor Trend, Auto Trader, Kelley Blue Book, and other publications, this was a whole new experience for them when it comes to press event accommodations. But we were all in good hands with Kurt and crew, and it wasn't long before everyone had settled in.
Let us know if you need anything at all.
Oh, this is great.
While I waited for the burgers to be grilled up, I took a few minutes to take a closer look at the lineup to see what I thought about the looks and overall style, since pictures on the web just really don't do them justice. After spending quite a few minutes taking in the Land Cruisers and Tacomas from different angles, I decided that I generally love the looks in person with a few exceptions, such as the gloss black fender flares on the TRD Pro, which would be prone to scratches off-road, along with the non-functioning hood scoop, which was also gloss and could reflect the sun in your eyes in some situations. Nothing that a matte wrap wouldn't fix though. The front and rear of the Tacomas flowed well, and while I like its silhouette, the Trail Hunter's bed rack accessory would have to grow on me for a bit. As to the Land Cruiser's looks, the beauty is always in the eyes of the beholder, but ever since I saw this design, I've been in love with the blend of old school touches and modern angles. The color palette Toyota has chosen really is the chef's kiss here and pairs perfectly with the styling. The infamous slow, steady march towards updated interior tech for Toyota has always frustrated some customers, with many models going over a decade without a refresh in electronics. If you're one of those folks, then you'll be impressed with the advancements inside, featuring digital gauge clusters, massive touchscreens, switchable electronic rearview mirror display, dual climate control, vented and heated seats, USB-C charge ports, holographic heads-up display, and more cameras than you can shake a stick at for off-road and parking use. But most importantly, I found all of these bells and whistles to be intuitive and ergonomically positioned, so it wouldn't be frustrating to find the right button while driving. Another item that stood out was how many aftermarket accessories were already installed from the factory. This is huge since most folks are intimidated by the effort and costs associated with adding things like rock sliders, skid plates, roof racks, and suspension upgrades. Seeing Toyota move towards more off-road ready configurations right out of the box and with a factory warranty on top of that is going to be very attractive to the average customer who just wants to get out there. All right, so say hello to the 250 series Land Cruiser. I like it. I like it a lot. Got to drive this for half the trip here today. Just zippy, just punchy. Very, very fun to drive on road. I haven't had this one off road yet, but very similar to the 550. Very similar feel, but I don't know, it just feels a little bit more utilitarian, which is exactly what it is. But you can see everything up here in the engine, which I like. This is the hybrid system, so you have single turbo 2.4 with the hybrid connection back there. You know, it's a lot of new tech. It's a lot to take in, especially for old school Toyota folks. We like our simplicity, But this is the future. You know, they're trying to meet emissions. They've got requirements that they have to fall within for selling these vehicles. But if anybody can do it right, it's them. Yeah, I'm looking forward to testing this guy a little bit more. As the air filled with the aroma of sizzling beef, I drifted back to camp for some burgers and a cold beverage while getting to know some new faces from the automotive and YouTube world. There's nothing like gathering on a campfire with people of similar passions to create an environment for interesting conversations, and it wasn't long before the somewhat awkwardness of a new experience had melted away. This was going to be fun. The next morning, we were up bright and early to sip some coffee and shake out the cobwebs after some fitful sleep. As it turns out, about 80% of our group were snorers of epic proportions, and the close proximity of our tents meant you could almost feel the reverberations in the earth. I'll go ahead and admit to being one of those, since I vividly remember waking myself up once or twice with a snort. Oh well, nothing caffeine can't overcome. All right, well, good morning, folks. Today is a very special day, obviously. We're going to go and test some more of these Toyotas and just jump around, try different models, try different options, hit some trails, run some roads, and just get a feel for it. And that's what I'm going to be sharing, is just my impression. There's all kinds of videos talking about the bells and the whistles and the features and the specs, and we'll talk about that to some degree. But really, at the end of the day, is how does it feel? How does it feel to the driver? So that's what I'm going to be focusing on for you guys. Today, I was teamed up with another YouTuber for the test drive, so it was going to be interesting to compare notes on these different models from someone who also has a passion for Toyotas and storytelling. All right, folks, first example today is the first edition Land Cruiser, and I am joined by
Chloe,
who is a big Tacoma fanatic. So what do you think about the Land Cruiser compared to the Tacomas you're usually riding in?
I am definitely excited to drive a Land Cruiser. So I actually have an FJ80 of my own, so I'm also a huge Land Cruiser fan. But today we're in a 2024 Land Cruiser First Edition, which is extra exciting. How do you think these tires are gonna do?
That's my only concern. I think that's everyone's concern, because they see these rigs and are like, that's great, but what about the tires? These are what I like to call like dealer tires. They just use them to roll around the dealership until someone who actually wants to do something with them gets a hold of it, and then
That's
it's
what
on.
I think.
Looks like we're getting ready to roll now. So, all right, ride along, everybody. This time around, we were trying out the first edition Land Cruiser, which is limited to only 5,000 units and pays homage to the classic Land Cruisers with some of its design touches like the round headlights and heritage grille. Full disclosure, I hadn't had time to do any in-depth research on these models before the event, so this next bit tells you just how out of date I was on new car prices, which is one of the biggest hurdles to adding one of these to the fleet.
All right, do you have any guesses as to the sticker on this Land Cruiser First Edition that we're driving?
First edition, I'm gonna say sticker on this puppy is right around, with the build out, probably about 44.5.
44.5 First Edition? I think you're gonna be a little bit sticker shocked.
Oh no.
So MSRP on this guy, 75,430. Land Cruiser First Edition actually,
Okay.
yeah, this is the first edition.
Yeah.
Land Cruiser base model, I think, starts in the 55s.
At that price, I'm buying the GX 550.
Right.
100%.
Yeah, you can buy an Overtrail or Overtrail Plus
Yeah.
in a similar price range and get all the same
Yeah.
features, but just being like a luxury rig too.
Yeah. Well, I think the other challenging part about this one is the payload is right around 1,000 pounds, maybe just under 1,000
Right.
pounds, which is less than a 4Runner or anything like that. So it makes it challenging for doing what we do. But I'll say this, I would buy this thing in a heartbeat to drive back and forth to work. You know, a commuter, it's fun. The turning radius on it's spectacular. The power is just zippy. You know, it's just a fun ride.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe a lightweight Overland build out on it. Yeah, the payload's the only concern that I have right now.
Ooh, and if you have a family. I don't think the GX550 Overtrail has the third row option, but the GX550 Luxury does. Whereas no Land Cruiser grade has a third row option because they're all hybrids and the battery sits in the back.
That's true.
So, another consideration.
Yeah. So many options.
Many choices.
I'm just overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Between inflation, high demand, cost of hybrid drivetrain components, and the new electronic bells and whistles, I shouldn't have been surprised with this higher level trim. The good news is, the base 1958 model starts at about $56,000, which personally would be high on our list for heavy off-road use. Once we reached the trailhead for the day, we reduced tire pressure slightly to help protect the tires from punctures, and headed out on a truly impressive route both in the views and terrain departments. This is my jam. These are the kinds of trails we spend countless hours and miles driving with the family, so I was really eager to see how the stock configuration felt along this route. All right, let's see what this 2.4 can do.
I am pretty impressed by the ground clearance. I didn't think it was going to be... I thought there was going to be more stuff we had to avoid.
Been impressed for a stock vehicle.
Yeah, what people don't realize is you could do so much in like a stock vehicle.
Oh yeah.
It's like you really can have a lot of fun, and sometimes it's even fun to like not build out your vehicle as much because it's like more of a challenge.
100%.
But I do like using the camera on those.
Yeah.
Going up and I'm
helps,
like, what's on the other side?
After a few miles of dirt, tight switchbacks, and steep climbs, I was really starting to enjoy this new breed of Land Cruiser. Now I know that for some, it's almost a sacrilege to put a Land Cruiser badge on something that, for starters, bears little resemblance to the discontinued 200 series, much less the required solid front axle which the hardcore purists demand for the beloved title. But I have to say, I like where this is going, and my skepticism was melting away under its torquey, nimble performance. While it's true that it's a far cry from the 80, 100, or 200 series predecessors, you can call me crazy if you like, but I really felt like this was a modern take on what a 40 series Land Cruiser would feel like 64 years after it hit the US market. Now the good news is, if you are a die-hard and absolutely have to have the finest of the Land Cruiser heritage, then you can still get the new 300 series, badged as a Lexus LX600 in the new Overtrail trim, complete with a front and rear locker. Just make sure to bring your checkbook. Time to shuffle the deck again. This time, the Trail Hunter. All right. Long legs are a curse and a blessing sometimes.
There you go.
Wow.
Perfect.
We're doing
Yep,
this.
that. And then, so from here, you can see different angles and you can change your camera view. So you can see the back, other side, and you can see as you turn your tires as we're going around.
That's just crazy.
And they're KO2s. I noticed that they animated it that way.
They knew
Oh, look at that. You can see the Land Cruiser behind
Dude.
us.
That's nuts. Cameras everywhere. this is a good ride. I think, honestly, when it comes to ride, I prefer this over the Land Cruiser right now.
Really?
And I'm really thinking, like, this seat...
We're going to go through this creek crossing, then we'll
this seat's a winner over the Land Cruiser right now.
They're pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
Reminder.
So what's your take on the feel driving this versus the Land Cruiser we were just in? Seating wise, you like the Tacoma seats better. I remember that.
I like the seating. I like the position. You know, it's a diminished turning radius, but after having swapped back and forth, it's still nimble on the trails. It's just that the Land Cruiser is kind of stupid.
Yeah.
And it's like teeny, like it. I hate to say
Wheelbase.
this, it's like a Jeep. In like,
Yeah.
It's like a two-door Jeep, just the way that it feels zipping in and out of curves. If I wanted a daily driver that I could also take on trail from time to time, like whip in the Ouray, do the Alpine loop, but still like keep it trim for driving to work, I would get the Land Cruiser. If I was going to get one of these with an emphasis on overland travel, building it out, having a tent, having some gear in here, I would go with this.
I have the same opinions, but with the opposite vehicles. If I was going to do an overland rig that I wanted to take out on adventures, Land Cruiser, and build that up, definitely put a better tire on it, because you mentioned to me yesterday the options of sleeping inside your vehicle or having, say, like a rooftop tent. And Land Cruiser, like, I see more space to build out camping setup inside, but that's just like me, right? And then Tacoma is kind of the more hybrid vehicle, and what I've used my other 2019 Tacoma for over the years is kind of this hybrid on-road, off-road. But yeah, my Tacoma, my 2019, has been my hybrid vehicle because I can just throw what I need in the bed temporarily really easily and then take it out. But I could totally see what you mean by building out a bed. Land Cruiser's more gas efficient versus this specific Tacoma that we're in right now. So maybe it is a better option for the daily driver.
Yeah, I just think it'd be so easy, like park at grocery store and stuff, whereas this is
this is true.
More of an effort. But that's just for the city dwellers. I mean, that's not my use case.
That was
Subaru.
I was literally gonna say.
Wow. Yeah, that might get annoying after a little while.
Yeah, pretty crazy sounds coming out of the Trailhunter. But with our acoustic glass, we literally were just talking about how we haven't heard the exhaust like at all.
Or
like, is it even
no engine noise either. Like it's been quieter in here than in the Land Cruiser, honestly.
I think so too.
Yeah.
With a long day of trail testing behind us, it was time to throw some air back in the tires before hitting the hard roads for camp. This gave us the chance to try out the built-in air compressor in the Trailhunter Tacoma. My fingers were crossed for a dual ARB compressor unit, but the numbers on this one were quite a bit lower than our old trusty favorite. Still, a slower compressor is better than no compressor, and this is going to come in handy for those who stay in the neighborhood of the stock tire size. The auto-inflate system with automatic shutoff was a nice feature as well, since you won't have to babysit it while you take your bathroom break or fix some road snacks for that drive home.
I know you. What's happening? What are you doing out here?
Man, just trying to do it.
Me too. See you soon.
As we pulled into our new camp at the Destination Outdoors event, we were greeted by a very special guest, the new 6th generation 4Runner. If you watch our channel, then you know we have a soft spot for the 4Runners, since our old faithful Silver has been going strong for 208,000, mostly off-road and towing miles. Needless to say, we're excited to see the new generation of 4Runners, and this Trailhunter edition had my heart rate climbing with all its new fancy bits, which we've been wishing for in our 2014 model. Maybe we'll get the chance to test drive one of these in the future and let you know how it compares to our Silver Legend. After some tasty pizza, we all sat around the fire chatting about our thoughts on the Tacoma and Land Cruiser, while looking forward to what tomorrow would bring as we continue to work our way through the fleet. The next day we headed out again for even more challenging trails to put the selection of traction tools through its paces. Toyota wasn't pulling any punches when it came to really putting these rigs to the test, and I was loving every minute of it. The Land Cruiser comes standard with full-time four-wheel drive with a selectable low range for better control in the nastier trail sections or in steep terrain. These three Tacomas have the traditional two-wheel drive, four-wheel high, and four-wheel low range selection. The list of available off-road goodies starts with the legendary Toyota traction control, which almost eliminates the need for a locker except in the most challenging of obstacles. For when things get really out of hand, Land Cruiser comes standard with center and rear locking differentials, while the Tacoma has an available rear locker in select trims.
So you're using MTS?
Yeah, doing the
You're actually doing
crawl control
crawl
now. Yeah.
Okay.
Never was a fan of it in the old 4Runner, but this I can do. This is all right. Just gonna slow it down for this descent. That's so nice.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder why the other version had to be so loud. This is silent. Now it's getting herky-jerky.
Yeah. You can give it some throttle and it'll help.
Yeah,
Or just take it all up.
Yeah, see, I don't like that at all. See, like, when you try to brake, it's over the top. If you're going to use crawl control, just no brake. Don't touch the brake at all.
Yeah. No, you have to trust it and let it do.
You just got.
You can be on a super steep incline and you just let it go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see the wheel slipping too.
Yeah.
Here, yeah.
Multi-Terrain Select gives you the ability to fine-tune the already impressive traction control system for the surface on which you're driving, with mud and sand, rock and dirt, snow, and then back to normal settings. The updated crawl control and downhill assist have come a long way, and it no longer sounds like you have a jackhammer stuck in your brakes. While I did like the crawl control going uphill, the use of brakes in this mode while going downhill made for a jerky descent, which was a little unpredictable. I opted to downshift to control the descent with engine and wheel braking instead, but to be fair, it's possible I was just missing a downhill setting.
Right, Andrew, we got comms back on you? Yes, sir.
There you go.
Right on, right on. Okay.
There's also an available sway bar disconnect which allows the front wheels to have more travel in off-road situations. This increases your traction when things get a bit uneven instead of forcing a wheel to lift off the ground. It's also nice to know that it re-engages automatically once you exceed 19 miles per hour, so you won't get surprised on that first curve after your big day of
Good job,
wheeling.
Chloe. We got to do a different line with you than the Tacomas, but you're good. Right here. You coming? Driver's tire's going to start coming up. Nice and slow. Yep. Now we can start going hard driver, hard driver. Straighten them out. Yep. We'll get you around that tree and you are good to go.
Thank you so much.
You're down. Woo!
Okay, so should I dip? There we go. There we go, 30. We're at 30. We're just casually sideways on a Land Cruiser on a Saturday. How fun was that?
All right.
Now, obviously, there's no way to reach a definitive opinion on these vehicles with so many options to test over just a couple of days. But when it comes to first impressions, I'm genuinely impressed and excited to see the direction Toyota is headed, with my only concerns being the long-term reliability and general maintenance on these more complicated drivetrains. Now, am I in the market for one of these? Like I said before, I'm an old school Toyota fan, and my use case in the remote wilderness of North America with my family means I'll always choose a proven platform to maximize that reliability factor. But I'm a special case in this regard, since this is our full-time gig. Oh, and like I mentioned before, that cost is a bit prohibitive as well. But if I had a day job requiring a fuel-efficient commute and needed something that was also super capable for snowy roads and weekend adventures, well, my deposit would already be in the mail. I thoroughly enjoyed both models and could see the potential for each platform in the Overland world. I was totally in love with the Land Cruiser at the end of this event, but I also found myself very surprised by the Tacoma when compared to the previous generations. Overall, I think Toyota absolutely hit the mark for their core customer, and I'm looking forward to seeing these Land Cruisers and Tacomas out on the trail, testing and proving what we all hope will continue to be a legacy of reliable, rugged vehicles.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap up all the trail time. Chloe, it's been awesome to hang with you.
I was going to say, Kevin, thanks so much for being my driving partner.
Absolutely.
I couldn't have asked for a better 2 days driving all sorts of different Tacomas and Land Cruisers. How special is this?
It's been fun. It's been fun. It's overwhelming. Like, I'm going to have to process this for a little bit. Oh, geez.
Doing a little burnouts there.
Right? But yeah, wow. I mean, I can't ask for better landscape. And then today was... I'm glad we went and did the trails that we did today, because they were so much more technical. And you and I were talking about it earlier, just phenomenal for stock vehicles. People, like, it's easy to forget, but we got out here in stock vehicles, most of them with street tires, some of them with 20-inch rims, and we did all the stuff, like all the things. And I don't think I saw a tire spin more than a quarter turn all day long. The traction control has just been nuts on these. Yeah,
it's pretty impressive what you can do in these stock vehicles, just airing down your tires a little bit. Everyone did everything. We had a few, skid plate hits, but that's what skid plates are for.
That's it. But the thing is, kudos to Toyota for listening to the fan base and helping more people have a capable vehicle off of the lot, as opposed to, oh yeah, well, I've bought this and now I need to spend another 5 to 10 to 15 grand to go and do the trails that I want to do. These things, I'm telling you, good tires and go.
Yeah. What I love about the new Toyotas too is that there's just more options. So you can go base model, and we have a couple of more base model trucks here, kind of like the one we're driving right now, the TRD off-road. I wouldn't consider that a base, but it's a good start for off-roading.
Right.
And we were able to do everything that the Pro and the Trail Hunter did. And so you can kind of go and build these trucks as mild or wild as you like from the dealership and still have a good time, because that's what it's all about.
That's it. And I think the aftermarket's going to get a little bit annoyed with how Toyota's kind of stepping into the game and hitting a lot of those big marks right out of the gate. And so, I know people are going to complain about the pricing and stuff, but I mean, that's everything. Like, everything is just inflated now, and it's not. I don't think it's a matter of just trying to scout people for this kind of stuff. It's just, it's expensive to build things now. It really is, between your manpower, between your factories, your overhead, your materials. It's just our new frontier. And so, I've had a lot of comments show up on social media talking about, how nobody's planning, this or that, or very few of them. But I think with time, they're going to see the value that's added. And so that price is going to look a little more palatable once they get some time in the seat and see just how insanely comfortable and capable these things are.
I'd have to agree with that. And I was kind of one of those people too, because I own a previous gen Tacoma and an older Land Cruiser, and they're so good. Like, they're already so good, but there's just a lot more modern features that are missing in these vehicles, and there's a lot of little things that niche owners that really like drive their Tacoma, know them inside and out, just want it. And I think for the most part, Toyota kind of delivered on that. Got much more power and torque. These are like, we're driving through the mountains and like no one's complained, or I haven't had any issues of just chasing gears or having my motor struggle up these Colorado mountains on the street. Yet they still maintain their off-road capability. So that's definitely a testament to their engineering, and I have high respect for that aspect. And yeah, I think like you said, it's just a matter of like time, and as people get more and more seat time and time behind the wheel, they'll come to realize truly how capable and amazing these vehicles are, despite the fact that they are truly so expensive.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to say, I was one of the first to be skeptical of these small displacement turbo or hybrid combos. I was concerned about the complications of adding extra systems. And when you're talking about odds, statistics, yes, it's possible to have more issues when you add more systems, but if the benefit outweighs that in the long run, then it's going to be worth it. And like it or not, it's our future. This isn't some decision I think that Toyota decided that they wanted to do. There's regulations that they have to fall within, and so out of all the brands out there, if anybody can do it right, it's Toyota. And you've got to talk about the elephant in the room with the Tundra stuff. And if you really read into the details of some of those struggles of these first iterations, you'll find that it wasn't a problem with the design, it was a problem with the assembly, and they addressed it. And they've gone over the top with what they're doing for their customers to make it right. And sadly, to some people, that looks like an even bigger black eye for them to bend over backwards. But I'm very impressed. I'm always impressed with everyone that I've met from Toyota. Everyone that you talk to who's at Toyota has been there for years and years and years. There's very few people who have been there less than 5 years that I've met, and every single one of them loves being there because there's a passion for the reliability and the gold standard that Toyota is and hopefully will always be. I just think that people need to give a little bit of grace when it comes to people and organizations working through new systems. And hey, when they're willing to make it right, when they're willing to go to that length to make it right, you got to pay attention to that, because they're going to have your back in the future too. So
absolutely, I agree with everything you said. And again, they have big shoes to fill with the previous generations of their vehicles, so it's not easy for anyone.
I mean, that's it. We love our current generation Toyotas, and I don't, that's a tall order to try and take something that's been so proven and so loved and go, oh, we're going to make it better, right? You're always going to have people who are adverse to that change, adverse to all the bells and whistles and stuff like that. But, at the end of the day, you got to keep moving forward. You got to keep innovating. It's what makes things incredible. It's what makes things enjoyable. And, case in point, like the camera system on this thing, if you're especially if you're new to off-roading, if you want to get into off-roading, having that on the front end is going to make you so much more confident in what you're doing. I think that has been one of the standout things in every one of these models, is having that ability to see where you're at on the trail, to see what's under you, to see what's behind you. I mean, I don't even think we went through all the different views. It's absolutely incredible. So you're going to be able to customize your perspective just scrolling through the different options with all these cameras that it has on here.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're new to off-roading or just new to a vehicle in general, and you're trying to understand the spacing, where your tires are at, how big your body is, all that stuff, the cameras can really assist and show you, hey, this is where your tire's going to go. This is how you're going to place your tire. Here's how close you are to a rock. And we used it several times, those side view cameras. They came in handy. And I certainly appreciate that. Obviously, I don't rely on stuff like that, but they are better to have than nothing, because they really can be used as a tool to learn.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so knee-jerk reaction.
you can drive one of these home today, which one would you go with? Go.
Tier Pro Tacoma. But that was just like already at the top of my head. But you know, there's like, I have a appendix of like, you know, but I did really enjoy the first edition Land Cruiser we were in. But I think Tacoma has just always been a little bit more of my vibe. I just like driving a truck. It is a little bit more difficult to drive on some of those turns in the trails. But I don't know, maybe it was just because the TRD Pro was in front of us.
Yeah.
And it looked so
dang sexy.
cool.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm going home with the Heritage Blue.
Oh, Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
Okay, good choice.
Yeah, I think so. I went back and forth, and it's difficult because there's a lot of variables as to what would help me align with that decision. But I don't know, something sounds fun about sort of this ultra light, stupid, nimble, like fuel efficient Land Cruiser that I can just go and blast through the trails with. I think it would be fun to outfit one.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. Well, we're gonna wrap this video up. Thank you so much for riding along. Thank you, Chloe, for driving and riding and helping me film and capture all this stuff. It's been a wild, frantic couple of days, but it's been fun.
It has been. And right back at you, Kevin. Thank you so much, and appreciate it. And you guys, I'm gonna do the thing. Subscribe, like, comment, share, watch with your friends.
By the way, where can they find your channel?
Oh. My channel is just my name, Chloe Kuo. A lot of the content is on the Toyota Tacoma, so if that's a vehicle you like and enjoy, I own 2 of them and I'm building them up. But I also own a series Land Cruiser I'm building up too, so yeah, we got a lot of fun builds and off-roading and fun stuff.
Very
so
cool.
Yeah, thanks so much.
She's super sharp.
Oh.
You'll learn a lot. Trust me. I've been very impressed. It's been awesome riding with you and chatting with you about all things Overland. So,
Thank
and
you.
for those of you over here on this camera, you can find me at Lifestyle Overland.
Yeah.
And it's my whole family. So we get out and do all kinds of fun stuff. We build rigs, and yeah, we'll see you over there on that channel too.
For sure, for sure. Well,
right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Until next time, stay curious and remember to leave it better than you found it.
Oh, I love that.